let's give them something to talk about. I see the energy running out. I got a planet to run around. Okay, you ain't do nothing but run your mouth. No, I don't want to be humble now. You doubted me, nothing to talk about.
Getting fancy with the opening.
Yeah. Smooth.
We'll see if that works.
I think it worked. It worked.
I was going to pull it up on YouTube to see if it was on YouTube and we were actually live and working.
Make sure our audio is working on point this time.
Yeah. Somewhere, you know what I can do is I'll pull it up on YouTube. PRsAllDay. Hey, good morning, everybody. We're going to talk about a few things. Competitions. I spent the day at a local comp down at Standard Strength, the Wadtoberfest. We had a lot of members. A lot of members there competing, and a lot of members competing up north at Festivus in Petaluma, CrossFit Sav. Those guys are awesome for doing that too. And then I had the opportunity the day before that on Friday to visit with, I call it the CEO hat trick.
Yeah.
Which is cool. Not a lot of people got that.
No, that's a unique experience there, right?
Yeah, we're up and live on YouTube, so I'm assuming our voices are coming across.
I did check. I think our voices is working out good.
All right, good. All right. But then so I had a chance to talk to Don Faul, Dave Castro, and then spent the rest of the afternoon out on the beach with talking with the People's CEO, Sevan Matasian. Sevan runs the Sevan podcast. If you haven't watched it, it's pretty awesome. Guy's done a tremendous amount for CrossFit. So we'll talk about that a little bit, and then I do want to touch on grace because we're doing that at the end of the week. And then I got a couple cool stories we can talk about, but one is about Kim Dekeyrel, the blind CrossFitter.
Yeah,
that's
incredible story.
But we need to touch on that. We'll talk about, and I want to talk about Kristi Eramo's marathon that she did after the games, which is remarkable. Just to give you some perspective on does CrossFit work. So
I think it does.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. I'm pretty convinced at this point, 16 years in.
Yeah, right.
I've got enough proof now. I think.
You're still making gains in progress.
Right? I had a good workout on Sunday. It was kind of in my wheelhouse. I had a good workout on Sunday with the Masters.
Yeah, how was that chipper?
It was good. I finished first by a minute. I'm gonna put it out there to all the Masters that were in that class. I beat you all by a minute.
No pressure.
Even my wife, who was really pissed off, she actually said, "Oh, it's great at the end," because she goes, "Did you do all 60 calories?" Did you do 60 calories on the run? Yes, I did. And then I'm like, oh shit, did I? And I went over and checked the road.
That's the worst thought. Like you start questioning, like, oh, wait a minute.
No, I rarely beat Yvonne these days. But that again was in my wheelhouse. Like I'm gonna get her on the rower. That at that distance, if it was like 20, if it was 20 calories for me and 15 for her, that's enough for her to make up the difference.
A little closer.
But 50, 60s, not enough.
Yeah. It's a different level of intensity, right? You don't push the same.
And the row thing is for some reason or other, my body mechanics, my height, weight, however it's distributed, rowing is not that bad. Like I got off the rower and I was a minute ahead of everybody off the rower and I was comfortable.
Got great levers for rowing. And I'm going to take advantage of it. So as you should.
Yeah. And then it ended with farmer carry. And all I knew was if I got to the farmer carries first I was going to be okay. And that's let's just get to the damn farmer. And everybody started catching me on the box jump overs.
Were you stressing out?
Oh yeah. I got a little panicky. Yeah. Anyway, so that's enough about my work. We're not doing an hour podcast or 30-minute podcast talking about my workout. But the competition. So on Saturday we spent the day down watching our athletes compete at the Standard Strength competition, and while it was awesome watching our athletes compete, our RX Plus athletes compete, and they did well. Kendra took first place in her division, which was really cool.
Awesome.
Jackson took second place against a tough crew of athletes, crew of athletes. The guy that took first place was a syndicate
semifinalist.
It was a semifinalist last year. So he had moved on and was trying for the games last year. So and he was legit. But what really impressed me was Candace, who came down.
Yeah.
And
first competition.
Corey talked her into it.
Ah, okay.
And she came down. She had no idea what to expect. And so I put a note in my email this week about competing at your first comp. And the other people that competed, we had simultaneously, but 6 or 7 athletes competing.
Yeah.
Up at, where was it? CrossFit, Sav up
in Petaluma.
Yeah, Petaluma, the Festivus games.
Yeah, it's wild. It's like we've seen a lot more competition starting to come back, and when we get to a point where we're seeing multiple comps in the same weekend, it's kind of like a flash from the old days.
Oh yeah. Oh no, it's this I think I posted that as 2012 all over again. Like literally the tents, the things, everything.
Which one are you doing this weekend?
Right. And it was really, I think I said something. Dave Castro came down to the one at the Petaluma, or not in San Jose.
So he did end up showing up?
Yeah, he showed up.
Okay.
And it was I was thinking, it was like, here we are again. Like,
yeah,
it was that he would show up to the comps in those days, or we'd, be at the regionals or something, the sectionals or something. And I don't know, it not much has changed. So that in mind, keeping that in mind, as all of these new comps are coming up, people are going to see other people doing it. You're going to see people on the internet doing it, social media, and you're going to want to do it yourself. People, and I would encourage people to try it, because it is a lot of fun. You meet a lot of CrossFitters.
It's a lot of fun, but I mean, in the essence of CrossFit, it's putting yourself out there, right? And, not being afraid to fail. And a lot of people get really, concerned or scared when they do that, because it can be such an undertaking if you're not familiar with it.
Right. So the question is, what, in terms of doing one of these comps, I think a lot of people, don't understand how they work when you go, and what to prepare for, how to prepare for it, and then how to, stuff to do while you're there, so that you don't have a miserable time, you have a fun time.
Yeah.
And so I put kind of some basic things. So if it's your first time, and I think no matter how good you are, if it's your first comp and they have a scaled division, do the scaled division.
It's a good practice run, if even like not a practice run, but it's a good way just to break the ice.
Yes.
Right. Like get some exposure, get some experience. Like, what does the day look like? Because it's not just a standard. It's not, you're not going to do a couple workouts. You're there all freaking day.
Yeah. You're working out, you're sitting, waiting, working out, sitting, waiting,
or you're watching.
Yeah.
Right. And if you're competing, this is something that I always try to recommend my athletes is, go watch a little bit, but don't get so caught up watching your friends. I mean, it's fun to support and be there to cheer on your friends. But at the same time, if you are competing, you got to be manage your time.
Well, to give you some perspective on that, if I go all day and I'm watching and compete and watching, coaching, shouting and yelling, I come home, I'm exhausted.
Yeah.
And I'm not doing workouts.
No,
it's because it is demanding.
Yeah. You're on feet, the energy that's going through.
Yeah. So if you're choosing a comp, just evaluate the workouts that they have. Most comps now that publish, I think almost all comps now, they publish the workouts before they post when they post the event. So you get a chance to see what the workouts are. And I would say, if you're new to it, make sure they have a scale division.
Yeah.
Make sure they have a scale division.
And get a rehearsal round of the events, right? Don't just figure it out day of competition. Like if they're giving you the programming ahead of time, like use that as an advantage just to get some experience, even if it's like doing half the workout.
Yeah.
Just be prepared.
Right. A good way to do that is, like Jamie said, do part of the workouts, and then also just show the workouts to an experienced competitor or one of the coaches. At your box or here at Diablo, just show it to them and say, what are your thoughts? How should I approach this? And there's even the sequence of workouts may determine how you execute those workouts.
Yeah.
Right. So if you've got
strategy wise,
right. Well, if you don't want to go all out, if your first one's a friend, you may not want to, try and PR your friend if the next workout is a, 5K row.
Yeah.
Right. You got to do a little bit later. So there's ways to approach all of the workouts that'll make it a better experience and better performance for you. And one of the things I think people forget is you're going all day. And I always said, and I actually put that in my email, it's like going to a comp, competing is like going to the beach, but there's no relaxing and it's not as much fun.
No. And I mean, it's a really good way to put it. I think like when you are doing a comp too, like, pack, like you said, like you're going to the beach.
You're going to the
Don't
beach.
forget your chairs.
Yep.
Get some ground cover because you're going to want to lay down. You're going to want to be horizontal.
Yeah, you're going to want to be figure out where you're going to be in the shade.
Yeah, cover. Cover
because
is
these
huge.
guys, the most of these gyms are small gyms. They put you outside.
Yeah,
and you want some sort of shade.
Yeah.
And warm clothes. That's the other thing people forget.
Mhm.
Warm clothes, a towel.
Yeah, because when you finish a workout, you're sweaty, you're
Oh,
hot,
yeah.
and then you're going to go sit down. I mean, obviously, you want to go through a cool down phase, but once you sit down and wait for your next event, whether it's an hour or 2 hours, like you're going to want to be comfortable and even in a place where you can close your eyes.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
let your sensory just
Oh,
kind
that
of
was
chill.
one of the things that we got good at was, we bring the cots so that
Yes.
athletes could just take a nap.
Or even just ground cover. Right.
Yeah, like ground covers.
That's so crucial.
That's the one thing we see affiliates. We bring all our tents. We bring our ground cover. All these affiliates bring their tents and they're all prepared and they have
Nobody brings ground cover.
No one brings ground cover.
What are you going to roll out and mobilize on concrete?
Yeah. So yeah, we get ground cover. Make sure you bring that, and then the other thing too that, and our athletes are pretty good about this, is bring mobility tools. Bring a foam roller. Bring the bands. Bring up PVC. Those types of things. You look like you're carrying all the crap in. Like I said, you look like you're going to the beach.
Mm-hmm.
But man, all that stuff, you'll use all of that stuff.
Yeah. And not to forget food.
Yeah.
Right. Because if you are there all day, who knows what the comp is providing? Like there might be a food truck or something, but you still want to prepare. Just like you would in the gym.
Yeah.
Practice what you play.
Yeah.
You fuel up, you replenish after a workout. You want to do something similar and you want to have something that's going to be cool on your stomach.
Yeah, I would, and that's an important point, is having food and drink that you're used to already eating.
Yeah, don't try anything new.
You don't want new stuff when you go down there.
Never try something new on game day.
No,
rehearse it beforehand.
Yeah, there's a taco truck. There was a woman making tacos out there, and they look phenomenal.
It looked good.
Yeah, but man, that's one of those things where
who knows how it's gonna go.
Yeah, who knows how exactly.
You got a bunch of wall balls coming up. You're gonna sit on that bike.
Right.
See how your tummy handles.
Although I did notice, like, she was making, but she had the big tub of old vegetable oil. Like,
no, I didn't see that.
Yeah, she was using seed oil, which is, I get it. So anyway, so the other thing too is make sure you have the schedule available, or have the link on your phone so that you can see when you're going to go, so that you can be on time. There's nothing worse than panicking, finding out that your heat's starting in 30 seconds.
Yeah.
And you're not there.
Yeah. Running to your event is not a warm up.
I've done that at NorCal Masters. I probably did.
I think we've all done that at once or twice. It is
the worst.
It's not ideal.
Having anxiety about when you're going is just the worst.
Yeah.
And then if you're going to go, recruit people to go with you.
Yeah.
Like, it's way more fun. Like down there at that standard strength was really cool, having 8 to 10 people and then all their family and friends. It's really awesome.
It's just such a fun experience. Like, it felt very nostalgic.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh yeah. No,
going back into
going back to the days when we were hanging out.
We just need some more up here in the Bay, so we don't always have to drive down to San Jose, or Santa Clara, or Santa Cruz.
I know we need people up here in the East Bay,
Monterey.
And then if you're thinking about hosting a comp, because there's some affiliates that listen to this podcast, and we have strong opinions about it, because we, at one point in time, for about probably 4 or 5 years, we were doing 3 to 4 comps. We were hosting, Diablo was hosting 3 to 4 comps,
big comps
a year, big comps.
Yeah.
And we learned a lot from that experience. And the other thing is, we were supplying equipment to other comps, and so we were helping them with their equipment needs.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that. Not only were we personally hosting and running and programming them, but we were also facilitating other comps like Moxie Madness, where we would bring equipment down.
That's right. Consulting with them.
Sacktown Throwdown.
Yeah, Sacktown Throwdown. So that said, and it's not the point of brag, but it's in terms of helping organize. One of the things we've learned, particularly Jamie Lee has learned, is how to run an organized, well-run test of fitness that is entertaining for the fans, a great experience for the athlete, and minimal equipment and organization and judging needs for the host. Like, those 3 things: reducing the amount of equipment you have, reducing the amount of staff that you need, reducing the amount of judgment calls that you need.
Yep.
right? And then making it something for the fans easy to understand and follow. Those are some components that are like minimum standards. You hit those things and you've nailed a great comp. If you we've seen comps get out of control where there's way too much equipment, you know, different loads for every age group or, you know, every category, different movements. They try and put in too many pieces of equipment, which just creates chaos in terms of organization before and after. So those are some things to think about. I think I had a list here. And just validate for that. First of all, you know, start planning early, and then check your insurance. You might need a rider. Then keep it simple. I said 3 primary events and a finale.
I like that because then I mean, with any of these comps, logistics is everything, right? Like you said, equipment, judging, like the less places of an error for an error to happen makes a smoother comp.
That's right.
If you're trying to get too creative, and you know, it's fun being creative, and that's my favorite part about these comps is you're providing an experience, and that experience should be creative. Otherwise, it's not fun, right? So you have to really run through all kinds of different scenarios. You know, is this movement going to be judge friendly for somebody that may not have the most judging experience? Because, you know, that's one of the big things is, you know, a lot of these people are volunteering their time, and it's really hard to, you know, hold them to that standard if they just flat out don't get it because it's too complex. Right. So making the movements easy, you know, minimizing some of the loads by using complexes, right? Like just like last year's in the semifinals, it was the clean and jerk complex, right? We didn't see the same weight that we would see if it was a 1 rep max clean and jerk, but because we went into a complex, now from a local comp standpoint, like that makes it easier because you don't have to provide and set up so much equipment.
That's right.
Right. And if you got heats of 10, you don't need 350 pounds, 360 pounds, because you might have somebody that lifts that weight. But if you minimize it by adding more reps to it, more volume to that complex, you don't need as much weight.
Yeah, and take it one step further if you want to make it maybe even simpler, so that there's no change out of equipment, is you have a ladder. Right. And even better, a ladder of a complex.
Exactly.
Right. So you can have 3-4 barbells only, and they're already all set up. And then they just go from one barbell to the next barbell to the next barbell.
And it's so much easier for a judge from that end because, you know, a judge should be judging, and a lot of times.
That's right. Not adding up weights.
And that's something that I think that gets kind of screwy with some of the comps is like, if we have a platform with all these weights, like where are the weights?
Right.
One's rolling that way. Or, you know, it's just keeping it clean. Makes it flow so much better.
And the other thing is too, is not every athlete has the same exact weights. They're all I've been in those before, right? Where the weights look different, or there's metal plates versus bumper plates,
or you got pounds and kilos mixed together. Don't do that. Don't do that.
Right. So you go from where you want to do a strength test to now it's you do it
math
as a
equation.
Well, I know, but you take a strength test where it sounds like it's a really simple event, when you turn it into a complex with fixed barbells, and boom, you're just like, it's so much easier.
The flow of that particular event will go so much smoother, which, like we said, experience is everything. And if you have a good experience because it's flowing nicely, you're going to want to come back to it next year.
Here's the other thing, as a fan.
Right.
So it's hard to tell, you know, one of the things that happens when they do these loaded tests is like, how much does he have in the bar? I don't know. I think he's got 225. I think he's got 235. And then the athletes can't even figure out what each other has, so that they can make determinations as well. And so if you have a complex or with a ladder, if you have a ladder,
barbells,
right, all the judge has to do is count reps, and then the fans, all they have to do is see how far someone gets and how many reps they do of the last barbell. Like it's super simple, and it's way more fun for the fans.
It's like back when, I mean, original regionals, right? When we had like remember the thruster ladder? Where it's like, you just keep moving on to the next station, and it's like your goal is to get to that platform, because if you get to that platform and you hit it, you beat everybody else because you saw who made it past that
and how many reps they might have done.
Exactly. It makes it so much easier to game from an athlete's perspective.
So workouts, another one I put on here, limit the program. We talked about that. Complex workouts create difficult setup, judging, and viewing problems. then workouts for time
Yes.
are much more fun to watch. But one of the things I've seen comps do is they forget to put a time cap on them.
Yeah.
So,
Or
so an AMRAP,
testing it,
right.
especially.
Well, or testing it
Yeah.
really well ahead of time, like testing
Yeah.
with multiple people testing the
Yes.
workout. But 4-time workouts are cool because as a fan, you're watching it and you can see who's finishing first, who's finishing second. You can tell when people are getting close to the end of the workout. AMRAPs are competitions like AMRAPs because they can keep a fixed schedule. This thing's going to be done in 10 minutes. We're going to have a 5-minute break. We're going to go on to the next workout, right? But AMRAPs make it difficult for the fans to kind of determine who's where. Yeah. And so that's a fine balance. Sometimes it's just by looking at it, you can make some tweaks and changes and put in a nice 4-time workout that gives the fans a fun experience.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, like, if you are to do an AMRAP, setting it up with, like, after you finish a round, move a cone, right? Have something that shows maybe what round you're on.
Yes.
Right. But at the same time, even doing a workout that has a time cap, in some cases, it just turns into an AMRAP. As long as you have a good time cap, that's, reasonable.
Yeah. So I watched down at Standard Strength, there was the wall ball and C2 bike one. Great workout, really cool workout how they did it. But so the two athletes that are going head to head, Jackson and Raphael were going head to head, and they were the first and second male in the whole event.
Yeah.
Neither of them had any idea
where they were in the race.
Race. The fans had no idea where they were in the race. All we were doing is just watching them do wall balls and ride bike, which, look, it's exciting to see that and see them pushing themselves. But how much cooler would it have been if we'd figured out, had a way to know how many reps they'd done or were doing, or some sort of screen that showed it, or
Well, remember when they did the half marathon on the rower?
Yes, and they showed
they had a camera, or all the rowing boats.
Yeah,
like it doesn't have to be super cool. It can be something very basic, as long as you have an idea of where people are going.
Grid League, we had the counter, the bar that went across and showed who had more reps. Now, granted, local comps aren't going to be able to do that,
but you could still set up like a cone and have some form of like moving. Right.
Yeah, that's right. These if you're hosting a comp, like, make judging easy, right? Kettlebells, swings, and push-ups, by the way, they're just right there. Like, you're torturing your judges, you're torturing the fans, and you're torturing the athletes who are watching the other athletes do the reps.
Yeah.
That's why burpees over a bar are so much better. Right, because you're just jumping
standard,
over
straightforward.
Well, clearly, like, you're not stepping over the bar, but things like that, or where it's easy to see and easy to judge.
Yeah,
but just one more basic one: if you're hosting a comp, you cannot have enough bathrooms and enough coffee.
Yes,
please. You're hosting a local comp. Make sure that you have lots of porta potties.
And if you have a lot of coffee, make sure you got a lot of bathrooms.
Yeah. But have coffee there, because the fans want coffee. You can still cover the coffee. You could probably end up paying for the bathrooms with the selling the coffee. Figure out how to get have someone in your gym get a big filter maker, make it in the morning, early in the morning, have it there in a big bin, sell coffee.
Yeah. In thinking about that, like, as a competitor, like back, regionals or even the games, like, they have all the bathrooms there, and it's like right before you're going up to stage, everybody's going to the bathroom. And if you're limited on how much porta potties you have, you could be setting yourself up for a little bit of a disaster.
Oh, yeah. And keep those damn things on time. Standard Strength did a great job. But
they did really do a good job there.
Most local comps I've been to recently have been doing a really good job.
Yeah.
You want to finish early, if anything.
Yeah.
There's nothing more frustrating when they get behind.
Yeah.
So shout out to Standard Strength, Mike Olivas, pool boy, who was the MC and hosted it, and Kaleo, the owner of the gym down there. You guys did a great job. Thank you for having us down there.
Yeah, it was awesome.
So the day before, I had an opportunity to meet with
Don.
Yeah, Don Faul, the new CrossFit CEO. Dave Castro had put it together, and he was there.
Yeah.
And then that afternoon, I texted Sevan, who hosts the Sevan podcast. I've known him we've known him for 16 years. As long as Diablo's been open, we've known him because he's from this area. And so that was fun to spend some time with both of those guys. Don, the Don and Dave meeting for me was really reassuring. Don's a great guy.
Mhm.
He's you know, I don't know if this is going to come off sexist or whatever, but he's a guy's guy, right? So
Mhm.
he's, you know, ex-military, and an athlete, and an avid CrossFitter. He's passionate about CrossFit. He's clearly highly educated, tremendous work experience at Facebook, and then most recently at Athos, where he was working on sport tech. So he knows and understands this space.
Mhm.
He asked me really good questions. So son of a bitch knows how to
navigate
Oh,
you.
he knew how to take control of that meeting, because I had a whole list of stuff that I wanted to talk about, and he kind of took control of the meeting. But he didn't ask the obvious questions like, "Okay, Craig, you know, how can we help you?" You know, that would have been just that's
waste of time.
Well,
really.
yeah, it is. It's kind of one of those classic questions. But I did have a list of discussion topics related to that, but instead he asked a question, was, you know, based upon what you've already heard people telling us that we should do and what we said we were going to do, you know, what don't you like about it and what do you think we should not do? And I was like, oh damn it, I had to think backwards. Like, it literally disrupted my thinking.
It.
Oh, it really disrupted my thinking, but it was really good. And he asked a couple of questions similar to that just kind of changed the way I thought about things. One of the thing, my takeaways are, the big one that I took from the meeting, because I watched kind of body language, everything else.
Mhm.
He and Dave are very close and they get along very well. And he trusts Dave. And it appears to me that Dave is somewhat of a right-hand man for him, which is very good, because Dave brings the spirit of CrossFit, the philosophy of CrossFit, the methodology, the affiliates, his massive understanding of the games, obviously, but he brings all of that history of CrossFit with him, and is passionate. And Dave's passionate about it. Dave doesn't hold back. He's not afraid to give his opinion to anyone. He's not afraid. Dave's not afraid to get him fired, obviously.
No. And he'll keep it honest too. He's
Yeah.
not going to sugarcoat anything.
No, he won't. And we had a couple points in the meeting where he challenged what I said. And so that gave me a lot of confidence. Okay, so Don has good people whispering in his ear. And he said that one of the things that we talked about was the brand. And I said, there's a number of affiliates, there's a number of people that have said the brand needs to be more inclusive and maybe even softer in order to not scare people into joining CrossFit. And I disagree with that myself. And I told him, I said that's something I think it's important that CrossFit remain the training methodology for the tip of the spear.
Mm-hmm.
The elite athletes, elite military, special forces, first responders.
Those where their life depends on their fitness, right?
That's where, that's right. Life depends on fitness, but that's how CrossFit got its roots. Yep. That's how it got its start. Those were the people that were doing it because they knew it worked for them. Mm-hmm. And what happens is that people look up to that and say, I wonder what the best of the best are doing. What's their training methodology? Because obviously, if the best of the best are doing it, it works. So I'm going to do it too. And it literally, that's what brought me into it. And it brought a lot of people into it. As long as, if it's the choice of the best, it's probably the right choice for everyone. Mm-hmm. And we agreed that, yes, we should. And he added to that, but we will tell the stories in the affiliates of how inclusive the affiliates are and how we make it easy for everyone to begin their journey with CrossFit, even though it is hard.
Yeah. As it should be.
It should be. So that just gave me a lot of warm and fuzzies, if you will. So, and CrossFit Media is dedicated to, is committed to telling amazing stories. I think they don't have a media director yet, but I think they're probably going to hire one
in the near future.
But they want to tell the stories that are happening in the affiliates, and that's cool. I got a sense from the whole conversation that he's putting affiliates first, and that he recognized the importance of the affiliates to providing fans for the CrossFit Games, participants in the training certifications. And that was one thing I talked about. I said, you really need to, I'd like to see from a media perspective, CrossFit elevate the significance of the training programs, not just to CrossFitters, but to the world.
Yeah.
I believe the L1, L2, L3, and L4 should be the most desired fitness training certification in the world, and they can get there. And I think they were well on their way, especially after winning the battle against the NSCA that was trying to really kind of sink them.
Did you ask him about that by any
No,
chance?
I didn't. I pussed out.
Really want to know what's going on.
I know.
There.
I want to know what happened. So they settled with the NSCA. So you guys can Google it and look it up, because if we get into that discussion,
that's a long. That could be a whole podcast.
That could be a whole podcast. But I'd like to see us usurp the authority of the NSCA and become the preeminent program in the world, certification program in the world. And so he understands that, recognizes that. And then one of the things I talked about, and these are ideas that I've taken from my conversation with other affiliate owners, is we've got to match people that are in need with people that want to help.
Yeah.
So for example, CrossFit affiliate owners that are in need of coaches with coaches that are in need of jobs. And Facebook groups suck. They really do. They end up turning into dumpster fires, right? With commentary. There's got to be a way. And I said, someone's got to figure out an app, or there's probably already one out there where we can connect CrossFit affiliate owners in need, for example, with coaches that need jobs, right? Because it's really hard to hire CrossFit coaches for a lot of affiliates. And then the other one is CrossFit affiliate owners that maybe want out. Like they've been in it 6-7 years. They're burned out. They want to sell their affiliate. They want to move on. They've got, other opportunities in their lives. How to connect those people with people that want into CrossFit and maybe are interested in acquiring CrossFit affiliates. Because there's a lot of people that are genuinely interested in acquiring or taking over affiliates to help smooth that transition. But affiliate owners are reluctant to put their name out there because they don't want people to know they're going to sell or they're going to be out of their affiliate. So there's got to be a way to bring those two together too. And they seem to like, Don seemed to like that idea. So they're going to work on that.
Do you foresee CrossFit wanting to kind of, they've already got a platform, but like actually creating a platform, like a social platform? I don't want to say like a Facebook, so
Don has that experience, and maybe that's what's needed. Because remarkably, with all of the media that's out there, we still can't bring.
We're still missing holes. There's still a lot of holes missing.
I think it looks myself. I said I think it looks like, for example, that you go to a message board, or you're in need of a mentor, or you have a question about something, and you click on lease questions or lease experts, and then there's a list of maybe 15, 20, 30 names who are who have experience in leases. For example, Diablo CrossFit, Craig Howard might be one of those people you click on, and then you can connect directly with them. Because the problem is with most groups, if I went out there and I said, I go into a Facebook group, affiliate owner Facebook group, and I'm having lease problems. I've got a 5-year lease and the landlord wants a personal guarantee on it. And I put that in the thing, and there'll be 200 fucking different opinions from people on how to handle that situation. And half of them will be stories of how they've fucked it up or what they did, their special situation that they did. And the other half of them will be completely irrelevant. Like, why would you want to sign a 5, just absurd stuff. Like you got to filter through all that crap. And by the time you get done reading it, you're all pissed off and you didn't get any advice.
Fuck it. I'm not doing it. I'm out.
I'm out. It really is that bad in those groups. And so if there's a way to connect people that, that can have a one-on-one, I think one-on-one conversations are more appropriate for that kind of stuff. And again, it's I
think like we said with the message board, like that was the old days.
Yes.
Of how, that's how you got this thing started, right? Like
they did
through the message board.
Remember the message? So a version of the message board.
The message board takes place, 15, 20 years ago when it was like really prevalent and people were using it frequently to talk. But we've got technology. We could maybe clean it up and funnel it better.
Yeah. Filter it down.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Sevan, my conversation with Sevan was great. This guy is doing a tremendous amount of good for the CrossFit affiliate community, as well as the L1 certification program. He's telling amazing stories. Sevan is, his approach is very courageous because he's not afraid to take on CrossFit, challenge CrossFit, challenge conventional wisdoms, but he also he is the biggest promoter of the L1 and affiliates.
He always has been.
Yeah.
He
can be crude and crass, and that's very off-putting to some people, but he's never rude about it. He's never rude,
not disrespectful.
That's right. Well said.
He's respectful even when he's talking shit.
That's right. That's right.
He'll break it down as far as like why he's saying it this way.
And he's very funny, but he also manages to elicit some amazing, in-depth, unfiltered responses from people that other people wouldn't get. And so that makes him kind of really popular within the CrossFit community. What's cool is I connected him with two people. He set the podcast up while I was there. One was Matt Schendeldecker, who we talked about last week, doing his juvenile justice program, or juvenile probation program, recovery program. So he's going to go on and tell his story.
Do you know when?
Next week sometime. No,
okay,
I don't have a fixed date yet, but it'll be next week. And then the other one he's putting on is the kid I talked to, Cody Bradford, who's owns an affiliate in North Carolina, who bought it when he was 25. So I was like, that's a cool story. I want to have him on. So he's gonna have him on.
That's cool.
Yeah, and Cody's the reason why I talked to Don Faul about that, bringing affiliate owners that want to buy affiliates, because he took over a shit affiliate.
Yeah,
it literally was that in and of itself was
on
a dumpster fire. And he and his wife turned it around and have a awesome business. So
that's awesome.
So, but anyway, so he's going to have him on, but Sevan is, and he's so passionate, and if CrossFit came to him and said, hey, we'd like you to be our media director and run all content, he says he wouldn't take, but I think he would. I think he would too.
Under certain circumstances. I'm sure he'll probably have some,
but I don't know that CrossFit would do it. He's, look, he's, from a human resources perspective, he walks the line.
Could be slippery slope.
Yeah. Like I said, he doesn't offend, but he has some strong opinions, and he doesn't like holding back. We got Grace coming up on Saturday. Yeah. 30 clean and jerks for time. We've done a lot of prep work going into it, so I'm kind of excited. It should be fun. Anything you want to say to people about Grace before they
don't forget to breathe?
Don't forget.
What they, I mean, like we talked about this last week too, is like, going through rehearsing the patterns, rehearsing the range of motion. As we go into it this weekend, it's going to be important that you continue to reinforce those positions. But at the same time, now that we're getting closer to it, start thinking about any added mobility. If there's any restrictions, whether it's the front rack, if it's overhead, receiving positions, those are all the things that you kind of want to touch up on and just kind of make sure that all those positions are available.
Yeah, I think in the master's class on Sunday, one of the things we worked on was I told them to focus on in that EMOM we did,
the row
clean and jerk EMOM, was the shouldered overhead position. I told them, I go, stop if you push press, stop if you are pressing out, like end your reps there, go take the break, and then start the next one correctly.
Yeah, because
it's when you, and I do it too. You don't, but a lot of people do.
We all did it at one point,
right? Where you end up push pressing to a press, or you kind of
try to jerk and it turns into a jerked press,
right? And and that movement in and of itself is exhausting.
You're added so much extra. I mean, like just the built up time under tension,
right,
and having to press out. Like Grace should be a leg and hip driven thing. Your arms are there as an accessory, right?
Okay.
Like one thing I was thinking about is, when you watch somebody clean and they pull and they have that early elbow bend, right?
Yes.
I always try to imagine there's 2 points of contact that you want to really focus on: is your grip on the bar. You want to hold onto that hook grip, and your shoulders. You don't have arms. You're not pulling anything. You're jumping the bar to your shoulders, you're receiving it, and then you're jumping into like a stilt position, right? So there's no pressing, there's no pulling. If you can practice and refine that and get more comfortable with that, energy wise, you're going to be saving some energy and you're going to be able to go faster because you won't be taxing out as quickly.
Are you all right with, so I talked to him about, and a lot of people said they're going to be doing fast singles.
Yeah.
Which is great. But
Absolutely.
Some asked about split jerk.
Yeah, I mean, split jerk's fine. It's
Right.
it's one thing. It's just it's not a faster pattern,
Right.
right? It's going to be a slower pattern because you're taking multiple steps to recover
Right.
underneath the barbell. But I mean, ultimately, the push jerk would be ideal.
Right.
And if you are split jerking it and you're going singles, just get into a good methodical groove and just
Right.
hold on to a pace.
Maybe a shorter split,
Mhm.
but a split jerk is still far better than a push press
It will add up.
or a shitty jerk
Once again,
into a strict press.
You're catching it, you're not pressing it.
Right. It's really, and I think if you get moving too fast, you get excited and you start moving too fast and you start push pressing it, like take a second, drop it, clear your head, take a second, go back to that better movement pattern. I think that'll pay off.
And typically what's happening when you start out too fast and push press? Like rule of thumb, what's the first thing that you think is happening?
Time. It's got to be. Breathe. Oh yeah, you're not breathing. You're just.
It's one of those things like teaching somebody how to do double unders or pull ups.
Yeah, you're right.
Right. A lot of times we'll see people and athletes just jump up on the bar or grab the rope and they'll start ripping out reps because they've got adrenaline. They're fresh. And then once that heart rate builds up and they realize they have to breathe, not only are you trying to play catch up on that, but you're also now changing what's happening in your diaphragm and your core, right? Because like you're expanding and contracting. So you want to time that all properly.
So Grace this Saturday. Those are the things to think about. Two last things I wanted to talk about. We're already way over our time guesstimate. But one of them was the two awesome pieces of news, and I shared it with the community. One of them was Kristi Eramo, who has 6 CrossFit Games appearances, 7 if you include the year she went on team with Invictus. But she was at the games this year. She qualified for the games this year, arguably one of the hardest years to qualify for the games. She qualified. And then after the games, 8 weeks later, she competed. She did a marathon. Now she's comes from an endurance background, but she had not been training for a marathon. So she was training for the CrossFit Games. And that's a very different training pattern.
Different energy systems.
Yeah. And actually I put in my emails a 308 at marathon, but it turns out it was 304.
Oh, wow.
So she had a 304 marathon, which is a 7-minute mile pace, literally almost 7 minutes on the nose, almost in some of her miles, she said were like 655, 656. And then she had to say a couple 702s, but 8 weeks, she took 8 weeks only to prepare for it. Her husband ran a half marathon. And he said, her marathon pace was faster than his half marathon pace. He's great. He's and I put a link in my email, and you can find her on YouTube. Just Google Kristi Eramo with a K, and find her video log on. It's really good. But I loved what she said at the end of it. She goes, or in the middle of it, she goes, I guess CrossFit works.
That whole evidence-based proven aspect of what we do here in the gym, it's weird.
I think should you only do CrossFit to train for a marathon? No. You're gonna have a miserable marathon experience. But you could do CrossFit and then add the mileage. And you want to build. You want to. Your feet still have to adjust. Your knees still have to adjust. Your hips still have to adjust to the volume.
That's exactly where I was going with that. And I think something to just kind of consider too is, she's an incredible athlete, and the fact that she had some bit of an endurance background. So she already had some data, right? As far as like she's had PRs, she knows what her time is. And the fact that she's also coming off of the games. I mean, 8 weeks out I think that's maybe a good time to kind of start increasing just general volume. But at the same time, her overall volume before that 8 weeks was really high.
Okay.
It's not like she just came off of like a weekend event. She was coming off of the games.
Yeah, that's the most relevant point, right?
They had some big stuff.
So a 3-hour workout was like, that's not like she did 3 hours of work cumulatively.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
think of like the run, right? Yeah. With the capital.
Oh yeah.
Right. Like the volume, like that's a lot of volume, and being able to maintain her intensity of that mile pace, that's something that I'm sure she was working on throughout that 8 week period.
Yeah. very cool to see. Watch that video. It's just but I think something our members could do, you're doing CrossFit, you're pretty comfortable doing CrossFit, you're coming here 4, maybe 5 times a week. Your friend asks you to go do a 5K, you can go do a 5K.
Yeah.
you'll do
5K,
fine.
yeah.
Right. You're going to be able to do a 5K pretty comfortably without any training.
Yeah.
10K, you might want to do spend
some time, get the right shoes. Yeah. Cause I think that's a big thing too, is like for somebody that doesn't have any experience, shoes matter.
Yeah, they do. Yeah. So that's cool. And then the last one is, and it's a Sevan podcast, and I shared it, but it's CrossFit Games did a post on it as well. And their post is just amazing as well. With Kim Dekeyrel, she's a CrossFit Games adaptive athlete. She's out of San Jose.
I didn't even realize that until I listened to the podcast.
She's completely blind, 100%. No, she doesn't have any vision. And that happened at age 26. 26 when she went completely blind.
Yeah.
Her blindness began at age 8, and then by age 12 I think she was legally blind, but she could still partially see. And now she's an avid CrossFitter. And this podcast, you got to listen to this podcast, it'll probably make you tear up.
Yeah,
she is an amazingly positive person, has just an incredible perspective. But to watch her, the CrossFit Games Instagram posted it, of her working out and her husband guiding her to the bar doing pull-ups. The best one,
the burpees.
Well, yeah, the burpee box jumps.
Yeah,
holy shit,
she's moving.
Yes. And I listened to her perspective on it and she talks about it in Sevan's podcast. She goes, look, if I walk in the gym, you put a box in front of me, I'm going to trip over and get hurt.
Yeah,
I won't have seen it and it'll scare me. But if you put a box in front of me and tell me there's a box in front of me, let me touch it. And then the best was, she goes, and you tell me what color it is. And it doesn't, she goes, you can tell me any color. It doesn't matter. She goes, you can tell me, she goes, if you tell me it's a green box in front of me, she goes, I will vividly picture that box in front of me, a green box in front of me, and I'm going to jump on it. She goes, and it's just like, she goes, it's not that big a deal. She's so humble. But listening to her, like, she has kids, she's family life, and she lives a very normal life. And if anybody thinks that they have problems or issues in their life,
man, and you got to listen to that, because it gives you some perspective.
It really gives you some perspective. Yeah. And she's a badass CrossFitter, but she said CrossFit has been awesome for her because it kind of opened up a new world, new community. Well, super supportive.
The supportive aspect, but also the encouraging aspect.
Yes.
Right. Like, from what she was saying is everybody's like, oh, you can't do that. Why are you here? You've got kids. How are you going to take care of them? Like all these things that are like all these crazy roadblocks. It's like, why the fuck would you put those kind of thoughts in somebody and say like, hey, why don't you try?
All right.
Like, hey, do you need help? Do you need a resource? Like, is there something that we can do to progress to get you to that point where you're comfortable with it? And the fact that it took her to go to a CrossFit gym to have somebody tell her, hey, I don't fucking care what your issue is. We're going to get you to do it if you want to do it.
Yeah.
Like that is the CrossFit community in a nutshell, which is what's so amazing about this stuff.
Yeah. She talks about as a child, like no one trained her how to be blind.
Yeah.
And she knew she was going to be blind, but no one trained her like what to expect, here's the things you can do. She had to learn it all on her own. It's a really fascinating story.
Yeah. It's a really good one.
Super motivating. And I highly encourage everyone to listen to it. It'll give you hope and it'll also make you feel like anything you do not worth complaining about.
Yeah.
Because this woman's overcome it brilliantly. Anything else?
No. Well, actually, yeah, sure. We're speaking of competitions.
Oh yeah, we should.
Yeah, we're going to be hosting teen trials here at Diablo CrossFit on December 3rd. And we're going to have basically all the youngsters getting after it.
Yeah. So I don't know that there's been any teen competitions in the Bay Area. I can't recall one.
No, you got to fly out of state to do it.
You got to fly out of state to do it. Or teens, like our teens will go to comps and do it as scaled, or they'll participate amazingly participate in the RX division. And our teen program is growing pretty rapidly here at Diablo. We got an amazing coach, Coach Corey, who runs that, and he just does a great job. And he's the one that brought it to us to host a teen competition, and we're excited. It's going to be December 3rd. and the registration will be live, or the
It
registration
is live on Competition Corner.
Competition Corner, but I'll put it on our website and I'll put it in our social media today, so everybody will see it.
We'll add a link into this
What are
podcast.
the age groups on it, Jamie?
So what we're doing is we've got essentially 5 different categories. And what we're doing is we're going to follow the open categories as far as like what is the season, right? So we're going to be competing with the male and females in both age groups of 14 to 15, male and female, 2 categories. And then we're going to go 16 and 17, male and female. And then we've got a preteen. So in the open, the teens start at 14. So what we're doing is we're calling it a preteen competition, where we're going to have male and females competing together just to get some of that exposure, get some experience. I know a lot of our teen group is, not quite 14 yet.
Right.
So we wanted to kind of make it inclusive for everybody to be able to come out and throw down. But at the same time, because it is a smaller or a younger age group, what we're doing is we're going to put them together to compete against each other. But we're going to be working with equation, a way to kind of a ratio to balance it out. So that way, like, as far as like the scaling is going to be consistent.
Right.
When we do get into the barbell lift aspect, there's going to be an equation so we can figure out what is, comparable to each other.
Right.
So it'll be fun.
So Diablo Jamie in particular has a tremendous amount of experience running competitions and building these events. It'll be fun. It'll be manageable for these athletes, so we won't be overwhelmed. But they'll be challenged.
Yeah.
And if you're a parent, it's going to be awesome to watch your kid compete.
Super fun.
Yeah.
And on this note, we talked a little bit about the competitions, and like if you're planning a running competition, and this one specifically too, if you are running a competition, don't feel like you have to do something crazy and oddball to stand out. Run a good competition, but at the same time, don't destroy the athletes, right? Like, don't give them 100-something pull-ups where their hands are going to be shredded, or 1,000 wall balls where they can't walk for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
My goal is you can still compete and throw down and push the intensity, even if it's a shorter or faster or not as much volume. So then that way they are not wrecked the next day and they can get back to their gyms, right?
Yeah.
We want our attendance up. We want our clients in here. So if somebody's wrecked and can't come back to the gym for a week or plus, they're missing out on what else we're doing here in the community.
Absolutely. So teen trials, December 3rd at Diablo. And we're dipping our toe in the water of
coming back. We're coming back. We're not dipping our toe. We're easing back. We're maybe like ankle knee deep here.
We also have a little bit of PTSD from running comps.
There's a reason why we kind of backed off.
Yeah, we have 1.4 comps a year. Holy crap! Anyway.
Just running our own.
Yeah. All right.
Awesome.
Yeah. Thanks, dude. Great conversation. Hope we didn't run too long. If anybody's still listening, thanks for joining us.
Yeah. Until next time.